Hey, everybody. It is, I'm going to say it's Friday. It's a bull run again. So, I'm starting to remember times in the past. Good old days. Anyway, it's Thursday. Today's November 21st. This is an AMA. Ask me anything. Literally ask me anything. I'll try to answer it. We'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I'll still answer it. Unless I know I'm wrong, and then maybe I'll skip it. No, I don't skip questions. I don't do that. My name is Kevin Murcko. I'm the CEO here at Coinmetro. Coinmetro is a centralized exchange. If it's the first time that you're joining us, that's it. Let's just jump into the questions. The reason I'm here is to answer questions, so let's start answering questions. All right. Kevin Murcko was pretty good today. Thanks, John. I appreciate you asking, I guess. Thank you. You're starting to get normies asking me about Bitcoin, huh? Yeah, me too. Our new user account creations picking up lately. They are. Actually, within the last week, we've seen a noticeable pickup. I mentioned in the last AMA that end of November usually starts to kick off the retail spree in crypto in general. And yeah, that does start a lot of the times with quote unquote normies asking about Bitcoin, especially when it's making all-time highs, which it obviously has been. I got so many Bitcoin broken all-time high notifications from apps on my phone that I almost can't use the phone. So yeah, they are definitely picking up within the last week. Hey, Duncan, do you think there is merit to the idea floated on Twitter? I still call it Twitter too, no worries. That there will be no alt season. No, I don't think that's the case. I've talked about this ad nauseum. It kind of makes me nauseous just thinking about it, actually. But I've talked about this ad nauseum, and I'll hit the notes again today. In the past, the 4-year cycles have generally been. Here we go. I'm gonna use a stupid hand motion that doesn't really mean anything. So you normally have a Q4, which is the tail end of your bear market, and you'll in that Q4. Actually, maybe I should even back up even further. Coming out of a bear market, you will, generally start to see Q2, Q3 of that bear market tend to be a lull. So you've kind of hit lows, but you're not moving. Q3 into Q4, you start to see the pop into Q4, October, and then into November. Bitcoin starts doing stuff. Generally speaking, 4-year cycles, these previous 4-year cycles. Bitcoin, they call it October because Bitcoin generally moves up in October. Maybe not all-time high. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but it starts moving. And in November, you usually see all-time highs, and then it's followed by the end of November with retail coming in. So retail starts to go, oh, we're missing it. And then, there you go. They start pumping money in. That generally happens throughout December. Of course, the holidays is a bit of a lull sometimes. January, February, March. Once that happens, you see a lull. Q2 into Q3. Tail end of Q3 into Q4, you tend to see funds. I should back up a bit. Into Q1, you start to see profit taking towards the end of the year into Q1. That profit taking generally would flow into altcoins. And then altcoins would do well throughout the year, though still with that lull, Q2, Q3 sometimes. In certain cycles, there's been not such a lull. And then into Q4, you see Bitcoin again going towards all-time highs. Capitulation on Bitcoin into Q1 of the next year, which would be 2026 in this case, along with alts. So I still think there's going to be we've seen already altcoins based on fundamentals, which is kind of interesting, but also obviously tied to the correlation in Bitcoin moving. Fundamentals like Gary Gensler looks like he's going to step down or get kicked out or you're fired. I can't do a Trump voice. I can do a New York voice, but I can't do a Trump voice. Anyway, but he ends up getting fired or steps down, and XRP's like, oh man, let's buy some XRP, right? So all the XRP army jumps on board on that one. So we're starting to see fundamentals actually drive the market, which is cool. But I do think we're going to see an altcoin market. I think it's going to be the last semi-stereotypical 4-year cycle. And then I think cycles will get shorter. And I think they're going to be driven more by fundamentals. But we'll get onto that probably in another question. So also coming up, thoughts on upcoming reactive mainnet launch. Excited at all? So in some ways, I wish Parsec didn't have 55 tokens. That's one thing, right? But I've always seen, I mentioned a few times that, being able to read the mempool, being able to do some of the things that Parsec does is going to be important to a lot of companies that build on chain. And I still think that's the case. And I think with their own mainnet, I know now with their own mainnet, they'll be able to do things that they couldn't do previously. I think that's important. So I'm bullish on Reactive. I want to see how the launch goes. But I know they have a capable team, and I think it's going to do well. But we'll see, because I don't really have a lot of information. I don't really have any more information than you guys have out there in the public on what's going to happen with Reactive. Will I recover my $8 Credo bags? Yeah, Credo. Well, I still think Credo was ahead of its time. I thought the timing when they launched was not too soon, but it seems like it was too soon. Their idea now could probably pick up more steam, but there are now competitors as well, so they'd have to step up their game. Is it possible? It's possible. Is it probable this cycle? I don't really see it happening this cycle, but that doesn't mean it can't. I mean, the idea of being able to trade without locking in your funds with a centralized exchange is an idea that a lot of people have picked up on now. And a lot of companies are actually working on or have been working on and launching products. So I tip my hat to Credo for being one of the first. But yeah, I don't see them rekindling highs this cycle. But you never know, man. These cycles can be, lots of unexpected things can happen. That's for sure. And I've definitely been wrong before. So, I mean, I've been right a few times, but definitely been wrong. Are you currently seeing a higher number of users signing up? We are, yes. Data to compare. It's a good question. Right now, we've actually been retooling a bit our data warehouse to be able to have some of the more kind of interesting data. Obviously, the data we need to, run accounting and see what the company's earning, et cetera. All that stuff is kind of relatively let's not say simplistic, but we can pull that now. But in terms of being able to pull more complicated reports, we've been doing a retooling on the data center. That should be ready in about the next 10 or 15 days, at least partially. So maybe even on the next AMA, I'll try to get some live numbers for you guys. So within the next 30 days. USDT pairs are, they're well within the top 10, doing well. We see lots of people trading on USDT pairs. So far, that decision seems to be a good one. Still not a USDT fan myself, but, the business likes it. I mean, the people like it. You give people what they want, I guess, right? At the end of the day. Mr. NT, isn't a new app just another UI reskin? It's a good reskin, don't get me wrong, but performance seems the same as the old app. So we've had a few different ways of approaching a quote unquote new app. And at first, the idea was to slowly transition old app to new app, kind of what you're mentioning here. Then there was a plan under a previous CTO and CPO to go all in with a new app. Business was kind of not behind that initially. Then we got behind it, and then, it didn't work out. And so right now, yes, it's not necessarily just a reskin. There are new API elements that are being worked on there that we're slowly pushing out, new optimization on new and old APIs that are rolling out over the next 10 days or 2 weeks or so. You've already have a better performing app because some pieces of the underlying infrastructure have been changed, some of that tech debt. More of that's going to happen over the coming weeks. And now, because we're in a sprint cycle, meaning every 2 weeks, there's generally new stuff, even though you might not see. This is a visual update. You guys can see a change. Behind the scenes, though, there's going to be a few updates that you're not necessarily going to see, but you're going to feel. And that's going to be the general how reactive the app is. When you touch something actually happens immediately. One of the last pieces that needs to be updated, which does affect a lot of the pieces of the app, is an API endpoint or basically something that gets called in the background to display something which has to do with your balance. In order to kind of dumb it down a bit, I guess, the way the old app functioned was that anytime we had to load a screen, we had to load everything in the back end to show you whatever you were looking on that screen. For example, to show you your balance, to show you prices on whatever was shown, let's say, on your app screen, we had to load prices and data from every single pair in the back end before we could show you your data. And before this current cleanup of pairs, we're talking about like 250 pairs. And then not only that, but there's pairs on, there's margin pairs, there's spot pairs, there's swap pairs. So you got to multiply that. With the updates, especially with the quote, well, not last update, but the last update in the string of recent updates, which will happen over the next 2 weeks, will be to compartmentalize that so that when your updates is your data only. So it updates, in real time. So it's not necessarily a reskin, but there's going to be elements of reskin, changes, optimizations to old API, implementation of new API, etc., over the coming weeks and months, that eventually this old app will be a quote unquote new app. There you go. What's next in terms of app updates? Previous update was good, and Alex alluded to more on the horizon. Well, I just gave you some of those tidbits, right? Performance updates, absolutely. Getting things native like staking, etc., being native on the app. Retooling our deposit flows, retooling the API behind the deposit flow, which then gives us the ability to add things like DCA, which gives us the ability to add things like new payment methods, Google Pay, Apple Pay. Those are some of the things that are on the horizon. Any more podcast plan like the one organized by Little AI or LFG? I expect there will be, because when the bull market picks up, I generally get asked to do stuff like that, but I don't have anything currently on my calendar. So there you go. When does the company enable USD deposit and withdrawal? Hey, YouTube user, it's great. It's great username. So USD Swift is current. There's been a few sprints already completed on USD Swift. Our goal is to have it ready before the end of the year. So it won't be ACH as of yet, won't be credit cards as of yet, but you will be able to deposit initially and then withdraw USD via Swift transfer at very, very competitive rates. Where are my Parsec people at? Yeah, where are the Parsec people at, man? If you're a Parsec person, give me a thumbs up. I don't know, because you're here. I mean, why? I don't know how you would give them a thumbs up on my stream, but if give it to me at least. I'll pass it along. I'll send the guys a message on Telegram and be like, bro, I got 55 likes because of you guys. I'm just passing them on. I'm going to take a sip of water real quick. European innovation. Anybody seen those memes? The European innovation with the cap that doesn't fall off? Yeah. My XEM value is going up and down. It's a Christmas miracle. Please, can we continue this trend? Yes, hopefully we will. That's definitely something we would like to continue. More up and down, hopefully. The monkey biscuits. Hey, Kenvin. Okay. Will CM offer a transition from VXV to new token? Yeah. Funny, I was joking around. We have an internal channel where we just kind of post stuff about crypto, general random stuff that people find working in the company. Some of that stuff is really just absurd and funny. I just noticed that it seems like the end of 2024 and then probably into 2025 is like the new thing is let's rebrand the token, let's change the name, let's merge some tokens, let's do a token swap. Like everybody's doing this now. I guess because it makes it a new token on CoinMarketCap and a new token on DEXs, and thus they can get some exposure, hopefully right into the push of a bull run. I get that, but it still seems kind of funny now that everybody's doing this. And, some of the reasons I guess kind of make sense, mergers of companies, whatever, But, some of them, I don't get it. Like for what? Having said that, once we have information, yes, as a centralized exchange, when there is a change in a token, a swap, or going from one chain to another, we always plan to support them if they're tradable at Coinmetro. The problem is sometimes that we just don't get the information. So we're kind of left floating in the wind, just hanging out, waiting, just like you guys to find out what's going to happen. But yes, the plan would be if we get the information and we continue to support the underlying asset, we will do the needful and, not burden our users to have to do so. Hey, Kevin, my largest holdings are Flux, KDA, and Parsec and Link. Do you like the most for this? Which do you like? Sorry, Jesus. I don't know why I can't read today. I was going to make the excuse that it's Friday, but it's not. So I don't really have an excuse. Let's see. So KDA started to light up a bit, right? Price, not so much, but in terms of positivity, the old sentiment meter seems to be picking up a bit. So I haven't talked to the guys at KDA in a long time. I know they launched this cabinet and they got some bonding happening over there again, though it is limited. They do seem to really be trying to rekindle themselves. They haven't tried to do a token swap, so that's probably good. So KDA does seem like, they've lit a fire. Flux is always out there doing stuff, man. And I honestly think that they should be priced higher as is. They are really pushing hard on decentralized computing power. They seem to be having, partnerships and building new tech and bettering their tech. And I see them out there doing things all the time. So I think Flux can potentially do quite well this run. I think KDA, especially with some repositioning and just being more communicative out to their members, out to their stakeholders, their token holders, and also focusing on fundamentals. I said it before, when it comes to layer ones, you need to figure out what you're good at. You can't be good at everything. I mean, Ethereum can kind of say, yeah, we're good at everything, not because they are, but because, they're Ethereum. Now Solana almost is kind of moving into that category as well. Solana now, if you want to run a meme coin, you do it on Solana, apparently. If, and so that's garnered them a lot of attention and a lot of new assets, more locked value, etc. And so and KDA needs to find, why is somebody going to use KDA, right? They need to find a niche and they need to just go all in on that niche. So let's see what happens. I still like KDA and I think it can do well. It's a layer one. Infrastructure layer ones have years and years and years of potential good times until, we figure out what layer ones are really going to be the most used in very specific use cases. Parsec with the reactive network, I think is going to light a bit of fire as well. We have to see how that launch goes. But as you can see, as we get closer to December, which is when they said they were going to launch, I'm starting to see price action on Parsec as well. So depending on when you bought it, what your entry price is, you can still do well there. Link probably should be priced higher as well. I think, I compare kind of Link, not to what it does or the underlying infrastructure, none of that stuff, but just in terms of, let's say, price action, community, etc. From a very high business level, I would look at Link and Cardano for one reason. Cardano has a great roadmap. They haven't really done much, but their community is super strong. Very similar to even something like XRP, for example. An amazing community. Link has an amazing community. And they actually are crushing things when it comes to new partnerships, working with real-world companies, actually solving real-world problems. And, one tends to move, in bull markets when the other one tends to sometimes, seem like, nothing's happening. I think Link is a long-term hold. It's like a blue chip. And so out of all of these, Link is probably the only blue chip currently. I think the others have potential to become blue chips, but Link is a blue chip. So you might not see a 50x, a 20x, or even a 10x, but over time, Link's probably a good hold. How is the new delivery manager getting on? Recent updates seem really positive. How's the team motivation? Motivation is good. Delivery manager doing well. Probably banging his head against the wall every now and again, but communication up to management has been much better than it has in the past. We kind of know what's happening, and we believe what we hear is actually accurate. It's not all, rainbows and unicorn. I was going to say unicorn horns, but I don't know if that's generally a good thing. That kind of sounds like it's not a good thing. But we get some reality, which we need to be able to make decisions. So all good there, Jack. Any new listings? Right now, prioritization is not on new listings, but that is going to change. Right now, kind of going back to the market making, liquidity provision, etc. Since we lost some partners we were working with relatively in the past month and a half. And so once that happens, then we do have a strategy, and that strategy is basically that the listing strategy essentially ties in whoever we're using for market making, because they obviously, I guess, get a lot of listings that approach them because they need service, or they're looking to find out what market making services may cost, how it works, etc. And thus they then need listings. And so trying to find that's going to be a medium for us to find listings outside of our normal avenues, right? When is new product coming? That was supposed to be here in October. So you've seen a piece of a new app, and behind the scenes more pieces. That the October launch wasn't just about a new app, but it was supposed to be a completely new app written from scratch. Unfortunately, behind the scenes, changes happen and things happen in the business that mean we had to pivot. And we pivoted as quickly as we could to then alter our approach to take the old app, optimize it, and make it a new app over time. That was part of it. There are still other pieces. USD was one of those things, which is now imminent. Another piece of that was something new on the front end that would allow us to push marketing or advertising. Paid marketing is another one of those things. All those things are coming about 45 to 60 days late to where we wanted to launch them, but all has to do with, changes that happen behind the scenes. I think I talked about them in a previous AMA. You can always re-ask the question and I'll delve in a little bit. Talk to us about Cadena, Kevin, please. Or please, Kevin, still bullish. I still think Cadena can do great things. I already talked about it, so I'm not going to kind of talk about it more. But yes, you can like rewind a bit and hear me talking about Cadena. Do you still hold the same position on Michael Saylor when you called him a loon? Yeah, I still think he's a loon. I don't know how to unravel this as best I can, but some of the things he says are loony. That doesn't mean I never said he was wrong on Bitcoin, meaning that Bitcoin was going to go up. The play he has in the background, which is taking loans on MicroStrategy stock, buying Bitcoin with those loans, putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet, making his company worth more money as Bitcoin rises because of his massive purchases and the PR machine behind those massive purchases, that then goes to make MicroStrategy stock go higher so we can take out additional loans on the back of the stock, is a play that at some point is going to break. He'll either, with all those loans, with the let's say traditional market having a correction, he'll have to pay those loans, meaning he may have to liquidate some Bitcoin, or he may have to find that money elsewhere. I'm not saying it's going to break the Bitcoin market. I don't think it will, but he's taking tricks that generally have worked in the past that many people in Bitcoin would consider dirty. Like if this story was not a Bitcoin story, like, oh, there's a guy that's doing basically taking loans out on his stock and using it to buy, I don't know, more stock. And then eventually pushing the stock price higher just to show that his company has a value, putting those stocks on the balance sheet. And then, most people in Bitcoin would go, oh, the traditional market, see how manipulated it is, see how bullshit it is. See how these guys just get the rich get richer and da-da-da-da-da. There'd be this whole narrative about why this is bad. But because Bitcoin's involved, maximalists really like this guy and the crypto really likes this guy in general. I'm not trying to say that I think that it's generally bad or that he shouldn't be doing it. In some ways, it's a genius play. And it worked. Well, I said evil genius play, and it worked because it could have not worked. The question is how long it will work. And it also goes to show again that when people stand behind something and get passionate about it, something that happens that generally they would be against, they are all in on because it's in their camp, right? This happens in politics all the time. This happens in, politics is a really good example, right? When the guy you don't like does something that you would have liked if your guy said it, you get upset about it and, all irate. You've seen all these videos on Twitter with people crying and screaming and saying they're going to leave a country, whatever, right? I mean, so I think Michael Saylor is a bit of a loon. I think he's a bit of a evil, loonish, is that even a word? Genius for some of the things he's done. He's going to go down probably in history, either really good or really bad, depending on what happens over the next 10 or 20 years. He's been really good for Bitcoin and crypto in general. We wouldn't be at these prices if it wasn't for Michael Saylor doing what he's doing. But again, the question is, what is the cost? And at some point, we're going to see what that cost is. Hey, Kevin, hope you're keeping well. I'm all right. Great to see Bitcoin nearly 100K. Absolutely. When you mean shorter cycles in the future, focusing on fundamentals, do you mean projects like Chainlink taking the lead? Not necessarily. I just mean up to this point, even now, crypto is fueled by hype. It's fueled by the FOMO mentality, right? Lots of people are jumping in at Bitcoin at 93K euro or whatever right now because they feel like they're going to miss the boat. Obviously, Bitcoin will correct at one point, and you'll be able to buy cheaper probably than you can right now. More than likely, right? Doesn't mean it will happen. So don't sit on your, don't wait for me. And at the end of the day, buying Bitcoin at any price when you have extra funds to buy Bitcoin has always been the strategy that most people make money on. So I'll just throw that out there. And that's on almost any crypto, really. DCA, if you believe in something long-term, is always going to be the best way. Dollar cost average. Don't worry about price. However, no, what I mean to say is that eventually with shorter cycles, we move away from this just the FOMO mentality. Now, FOMO is going to exist in every tradable market to a certain extent, just like people FOMO'd into some stocks, right? That became meme stocks. FOMO is going to exist, but fundamentals will start to drive the market. Meaning, if you have a token that is just tied to a meme, it probably won't do well just because, right? Like there's going to have to be a fundamental push. Now, we may redefine what fundamentals are. In traditional markets, a fundamental is, your company makes money, so your stock's worth more. In a more traditional tokenized market, even if that's a thing, the underlying company of a utility token does well. There are more users on the platform. The utility token of that platform should do well. Makes sense. Now, with a meme coin or an asset that doesn't necessarily get tied to a platform. Now, with a layer one, also easy, right? More people using the layer one, more locked value, more fees, etc. The token is being used more and more. There might be deflationary pressures, etc. Token price goes up because more people are buying it to be able to interact on that network. Makes sense. Very traditional in many ways. Meme coins, it's a different. Again, we may rewrite what a fundamental is when it comes to meme coins. Maybe at some point, meme coins will be tied to the meme. Imagine if you posting a meme or an avatar on Telegram or Discord, there'd be some way to track how many people are using that meme. And the more usages of that meme, maybe you have to pay to use the meme and you pay in the meme token. I don't know, right? So I think things that don't have some type of fundamental tie-in over time, as these market cycles shorten, you're going to see them be less potent and powerful on the market. That was my point. Hopefully that makes sense. If you're given one week to live, what would you do in the week? Wow, Christopher, that's great. There's probably some things I do I don't really want to mention on a live show. I don't know. Generally speaking, I'd spend that time with family, maybe some close friends, a little bit of that time, but probably mostly with family. Because, when you talk about legacy in general, regardless of what you do in your life, you could be, I don't know, Elon Musk, or you could be a mechanic, and a bad one, I don't know. But the biggest legacy you're going to leave, the longest lasting legacy you're going to leave is going to be with the people that were closest to you. And that's probably what's most important in life. The older you get, and I'm at the point where I am now, I've realized that. And I think as you get older, you realize it more and more. So yeah, it would be probably spending time with family, even dumb things that you took for granted in the past, anything really. Going away knowing that, you were loved by some people close to you is probably much better than going away knowing that you, I don't know, made something innovative. Like you might save a dolphin. I mean, I'm not saying that's not important. We should save Dolphins probably. But will people really care that you saved the dolphin? They might learn about you in school. Is that going to make you feel warm and fuzzy if there is like some type of afterlife or you get like reborn? I don't know, whatever happens after you die. No, probably the people closest to you. There you go. What's your outlook on ICP and its burn rate? What's my outlook on ICP and its burn rate? Wow, man, I don't know if I was going to say it's Friday again, but it's not. Clarify for me ICP, and I'll get back to that question. Hiya, Kevin. We're probably a long way off, but I'm curious as to what Bitcoin price will be about before exchanges start to take trades as low as 1 Satoshi. Well, I guess, there's 100 million Satoshis, right? So if Bitcoin price was $1 million, a Satoshi would be 1 cent. I don't see any reason why somebody we would be taking trades at 1 Satoshi and people could still generally trade at 1 Satoshi. I don't see that as being a hindrance. 10 million, that means it's 10 cents. 100 million means it's equivalent to $1, €1. So I don't know if your question is, will the lowest trade be 1 Satoshi? And I guess that would come probably from, as we get closer to 1 million. Maybe I'm answering your question wrong though. So you'll have to maybe reiterate it and I can come back to it. I guess you learned the lessons that need to be learned in the last 5 years. And I think those lessons will allow you to make some right decisions for the next amazing. Yeah, learned a lot of lessons. Never going to stop learning lessons. I'll put it that way. Where are you guys at getting a US banking partner? We have one. And we will go live with them before the end of the year. It's going to be Swift only to start. We're working to try and grab at least 1 or 2 other partners that will allow for ACH and eventually credit cards as well. What is your take on the new administration in office? I assume you're talking about the US. Looks very bullish for USA crypto companies. What in your opinion, the chance for Bitcoin to overtake gold market cap in the next cycle? So opinion on the administration without going like political, meaning like who I would have voted for. I'll throw it out there. I'm a US citizen. I didn't vote. I've never voted in a presidential election. I probably never will. We can take that up on another AMA or a specific AMA. I don't know. My opinion though is that for regulation for business in general, this is going to be more than likely at least 2 years of some exceptional growth. And why do I say 2 and not 4? There'll obviously be midterm elections in 2 years. So, and you would assume if growth is really is good, that people will get reelected, but I wouldn't make that assumption. Yes, people generally vote with their wallets first, but that has, in midterm elections, there can be, stuff thrown in that causes people to, change their vote locally in different parts of the country, considering that these are more statewide elections rather than they are federal or nationwide elections. So, but at least for 2 years, I expect it to be quite bullish, not just for crypto, but for lots of different industries that have been burdened by regulatory oversight. Now, I've always been pro-regulation. That doesn't mean I'm pro every regulation. In fact, most regulation, and I say most, meaning more than 50% of it, I think isn't needed. And I think, in fact, goes against what the regulators are trying to accomplish. I don't just mean in financial regulation, but definitely in financial regulation, as that's where I'm, my knowledge is definitely more attuned to financial regulation than anything else. So I think it's going to be bullish. Overtaking gold's market cap is going to happen. 100%. It will happen. Will it happen in the next cycle? I don't think so. I'm trying to actually, let me do a quick search here because let's see, Bitcoin versus gold market cap, because I have a number in my head. I don't know if I'm entirely accurate. So let's pull it up. So, for some reason, I adjusted my search parameters so that, okay, gold, 17 trillion. There you go. So 17 trillion on gold, roughly, was it 2 trillion now for Bitcoin? Yeah. So that's about an 9x, let's say, to overtake it more or less. That would put Bitcoin's price around well, around close to that million mark that we're all going to be talking about after 100Ks are broken. You know, well, we'll talk about 250, we'll talk about 500, but eyes are going to be on 1 million. If 4-year cycles were to repeat themselves, and we had the same general average, now the average now is quite, you know, the mean was maybe a better way to look at it now than the average, because we've had cycles where Bitcoin has done amazing things off of lows and even off of previous all-time highs. And we've had cycles where it hasn't been, it's still been amazing comparatively speaking to any other asset, but, you know, not necessarily, you know, cosmic. But generally speaking, you're looking probably at somewhere around 2 to 3 cycles for that to happen. If we continue to have the same 4, that would put us at 8 to 12 years, right? 4-year cycles. I don't think we're going to have another 4-year cycle after this one. I think once this bullish market comes to an end, I think the next cycles will be shorter, though I think that may mean we can get there faster. So, you know, if the US follows through and puts Bitcoin as a reserve asset, every other G7 will follow almost with immediate effect within one cycle. And G20 will follow after that. When that happens, that buying alone will push us 5x to from where we are now, more than likely. Now, after that, it would mean that what it will mean is that when Bitcoin's at 100K or 500K, normies are like, I missed Bitcoin. Let me buy, you know, whatever, shit has a hat, you know, or whatever. I heard shit on a hat's going to do well. And then their buddy's like, well, I heard dog with a stick. And then, you know, some other guy's like, I don't know, asshole without a job, I heard is going to just, you know, go to the moon. So this is kind of, you know, the market that we still have. So retail money is going to move aside, but it will absolutely push sovereign money, massive institutional money. But at the same time, there will be profit taking from these institutions as well. Not necessarily from sovereign, more than likely, but you never know. But definitely from institutional. So, you know, if I had to do one of these, you know, and just stick my finger in the air, I would say we could potentially see that million mark on Bitcoin within the next 3 to 4 years, even 2 to 4 years, depending on what happens with the sovereign hold, meaning what happens in the US first, whether Japan and the UK and et cetera, follow suit. But I think they will, China as well. So let's see. And there might be, you know, BRIC nations, the BRIC list has grown. I think we all know that. I did a nice video about it. If you didn't see it on Twitter, man, follow me on Twitter, X, whatever it is, and go check that video out, because come on, man, and give it a thumbs up, you know? Okay, and a subscribe, of course. I forgot about that. What is your chance? Hey, maybe if I get big enough on social media, I'll fight Mike Tyson. What do you think? I mean, obviously, I know I'm going to win or whatever. Well, you know, I'm not in danger, I guess. What is your chance, in your opinion, for XCM to reach previous floor price in the next year if we get a bull cycle with BTC? So from a fundamental standpoint, the company will more than likely be 3 to 5 times bigger than it is now in terms of revenue, at a minimum, in my estimation, once we get to the end of 2025. That'll mean we are the biggest we've ever been. So from a fundamental standpoint, price can already ellipse that previous all-time high. With the market doing well, Coinmetro doing well, and the community hyped, I think it's well within the realm of possibility that by the end of 2025 into 2026, we have ellipsed. The real question is, regardless of where we are, will we be able to maintain sustainability in revenues throughout the next bear, regardless of what that is, shorter cycle, longer cycle, whatever? And what price will look like then? And my ultimate goal is that, just like I think will happen with Bitcoin, in that it'll be less volatile, but you know, we still have, because of sovereign money, et cetera, the kind of last big push is sovereign money. And then we get to a point where Bitcoin is a blue chip and does, you know, some percentage every year and is very, you know, you can kind of set your clock by it. But no more ridiculous pushes, because sovereigns are, well, what comes at what? I mean, unless Martians come down with their money, I don't see the next, you know, major catalyst. So XCM obviously is not at the sovereign money catalyst yet, or the institutional money catalyst. And so we have a massive upside, but in order to do that, we need to show that the company can maintain itself through the bear market. And that's something that, we're working on behind the scenes all the time, I guess. Shout out to the help desk guys, Kevin. Hope you're looking after them as best we can. And they're definitely the best in the business. So thank you guys. Hats off to you. I know you're listening because, you always watch the show, of course. Genja Lishnas on Twitter will step down on January 20th. There you go. Right on the last day, too. What an asshole. Anyway, but there you go. Bye, Gary Gensler. I guess when we go back to look in the next 5, 10, 15 years, we'll have, the Gensler period, which was, I think, in recent memory, the longest bear market we had. Thank you, Gary Gensler. But, when you pull a spring back long enough, when it pops big time. Hey, Kevin, any chance to have the referral system fixed so we can offer new users a reward to join? So the referral system for new users getting the reward works. I think the one thing that is not working in the background is the calculation of the 40%. The good news is we have all the data, so when it does get fixed, it should be retroactive. It is a known issue. It's tied to some pieces. Our old infrastructure, to put this the easiest way, is like a monolith, right? One big thing. And we're moving away from that. And the problem with one big thing is you might pull out a pebble somewhere and then, something that you thought has nothing to do with what you touched breaks. So the team is a bit standoffish about jumping in and fixing this until we remove some of that tech debt so we know there's no crazy connection. But it is prioritized that as soon as they can fix it, they will. I want to see it fixed before we have any real major push on the marketing side. Now, we're going to do some marketing and some advertising here over the next, till the end of the year. You're going to start to see some stuff. And I would have loved to have it fixed beforehand. I don't think that's going to be possible. It is known. It will be fixed. Ping me on Telegram, in the next 30 days before the next AMA, and I'm going to be pushing for updates. Does Coinmetro still have an office in Estonia? What happened to the Mexican office? Yes, we do have an office in Estonia. It's our headquarters. It's in the same building, though we did move offices from one to another. The Mexican office we shut down last year simply because a lot of the staff was still remote. We didn't ramp up that office as we thought we would with more customer support, etc. A lot of it has to do as well with Prime Trust, which was our old USD provider going under, and thus we lost a lot of active users in the US or in North America in general. And to have that office there with the cost base didn't make sense. We may very well have another office, whether it be Mexico or somewhere else, once USD kicks off again. But the Mexican office was shut down, but for cost reasons. Though the people that work the Mexican office, they're still with us. So wasn't a people thing. It was more of just having that infrastructure cost that didn't really make any sense. Runway update, how fundraising calls going? Are you bullish on acquiring funds? Runway is roughly around 7 months right now. I do expect a little bit of money to come in from one of our current investors, which will probably give us an extra month working on that. So when it comes to fundraising calls, so we've been working with two different advisories. Data Room is probably 10 days away from being 100% ready. We will start tomorrow with sending out cold emails across thousands and thousands of contacts of these two advisors, an old advisor we're working with, plus another, wouldn't call it an advisory, but another list that we acquired. So some of those are cold outreaches, some of them are warm. And for one of the advisors, I would say even lukewarm. I don't know, like warmer than warm. I think lukewarm is warmer than warm. I don't know. And so that's all going to start. And then calls will be picking up in the first part of December. And then obviously once we get back in January, I expect to be only on investor calls starting in the next 10 days through March. And that's going to be pretty much all I'm doing except for one-on-ones. So next AMA, you're definitely going to get, I don't know, next AMA, I guess we're going to do right before Christmas. So, but you'll probably get a strong update from me on the fundraising side. And I am bullish on acquiring funds. Absolutely. I'm seeing a lot of things come together that I haven't seen since 2017 in terms of access to capital and just bullishness in general. So Daniel from Flux did an interesting tweet some weeks ago about a new exchange, but still mentioned Coinmetro as a partner. Do you know something we don't? All I know is that, yes, they envision us as a partner. I'm still waiting on specifics from Daniel, actually. What I believe, my assumption here, is that they want to do some type of aggregator where they have like a front-end aggregator with your assets that are sitting within their ecosystem, and then you're able to trade those assets across pricing at different aggregated exchanges, Coinmetro being one of them. I think that's where they're headed. I have no information to say whether or not I'm accurate, but if it was me doing it in Daniel's shoes, that's what I would do. That's where I'm getting my assumption from. I could be completely wrong. All I know, and it also kind of would make sense why they wouldn't have to reach out to us months and months beforehand, because it would take a lot more work to do something else. This would take them connecting to our API and then probably maybe talking to us about promotions, talking to us maybe about tradable assets, maybe collateral in some, in some future update. I don't know. But that's my assumption. So let's see if I'm right. And yeah, once Daniel does reach out, as long as, we don't sign an NDA or something, which I don't think we will. Me and Daniel have a pretty good relationship. Then, I'll let you guys know. When new Mars? I'm waiting over a year. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. Right now, I would say new Mars is going to be in the new year, within Q1, hopefully beginning of Q1. Just like I mentioned with the monolith thing before, new Mars touches a lot of things in the exchange that we have plans to remove on tech debt. And before we remove them, no one wants to mess with the old version for fear that it may cause errors that take time to solve. And we can't test for them beforehand because we don't have the documentation to understand what may or may not happen. And even where we have documentation, there's been times in the past where we make, I don't know, let's update referral system. Let's update levels. And then the referral system breaks, or, let's update, I don't know, the fee structure. I'm saying, I don't know a lot. I got to cut that out. Let's update the fee structure. And then we update the fee structure and charts break. Why? Anybody's guess, but then we got to fix it. So that's where we are. Can you elaborate on what type of advertising you're considering? What you have seen work well previously? I can update you maybe even in Telegram over the next week to 10 days, because I'm going to get an update on our side. I don't specifically know yet. I know in the past we had planned around product launch using KOLs, so influencers basically, as well as some paid advertisements on different platforms, and promoted posts, stuff like that. And I probably a few other things as well, maybe some PR type stuff, me going on, podcast A, B, C, or D, etc. But I don't have 100% specifics. I'm actually waiting on a presentation next week. So when XCM €1, I'm going to do everything I can, guys, and so is the rest of the team, because they are incentivized, and they will be even more incentivized to get there. Do everything we can to see that happen this run. That's as whatever we can do. Absolutely, man. I'm all for that. You mentioned some kind of airdrops for XCM holders. Is there any info about that? Hey, Nulti, that was tied to an idea we had about a DAO-like concept where we would create a new token that would allow for people to vote on things happening in the Coinmetro ecosystem. Now, this hasn't been completely thrown away, but it's been shelved only because we got caught off guard with what we thought was 4 months worth of progress on product launches that turned out to be not so much. And so that right now we've had to kind of put that on the backlog. We need to get through some immediate stuff so that we can make sure Coinmetro grows like we want it to grow in end of 2024, early 2025, into the end of 2025, and then we can refocus back. The airdrop was about having those getting those new tokens. It wasn't getting XCM, but it was getting those DAO-like tokens to XCM holders. New Mars will be built in a way that you will have many more potential positive attributes to holding XCM than you have now. So regardless of whether or not this DAO token becomes a thing in 2025, I expect holding XCM will be more valuable, not just because of a rise in price, but also because of new stuff that gets tied, new utility, which is also something that we're going to be hyper-focused on. Doesn't matter which politician you vote for, the Fed central bank runs the show. Yeah, it's funny how many people don't understand that the Fed in the U.S. is like a private entity, not government controlled at all. They're only really obliged kind of to let us know what they're doing, but that's it. Actually, there's a bit of controversy because Trump wants to weigh in on rate increases and decreases, and that's never happened before because they're not a government agency. Anyway, I think I got through all the questions, and we're only 50 minutes in. So while you're sitting there, like, subscribe, and confetti, smiley face, whatever. I'll take a sip of water, and let's see if some more questions roll in. I'll give it a minute or so. Outside of that, I hope everybody is good. I always like to thank everybody for their support. I know if you've been here a long time, sometimes, supporting anything can have its ups and downs, but being a Coinmetro supporter might have been a bit painful at some points. But sometimes it's been really gleeful. I know I still love it when I get messages and actually meet people in person, sometimes even randomly, that Coinmetro helped kind of change their lives. And that's amazing. I told a story about just running into somebody at the gym or spa, coming out of the locker room, that recognized me and said, "Man, you changed, back in 2017, 2020, I completely changed my life because of where I started on Coinmetro." And that's amazing. So that's why I still get up. That's why I'm still doing these shows. That's why I still go to meetings. So that's cool. How are we on Mars? I think I already answered like 15 times, gents. Maybe you're just rolling in, but yeah, I can't wait for Mars personally. I'm all in on seeing Mars go live. So, it is what it is. But I think the good thing is that we were planning on launching Mars, still having some of that tech debt around, and hopefully we have less of it when we launch Mars now, which may mean we can actually make it even more fruitful right from the get-go, which I'm all for. All right, here we go. 2 questions. Thank you for enabling to buy and sell XRP when other platforms removed when the heat with the SEC. You're very welcome. There was no reason to remove it, actually. So I don't know why everybody else did, but I'm glad that we did, and I'm glad XRP is getting a little bit of moment in the sun because of the Gary Gensler boot. Is it true that you're under consideration to be the new crypto czar in the Trump administration? Well, I don't know, man. They haven't reached out yet. If they do, though, I would definitely hear them out. I'll put it that way. I think it would be a unique opportunity to have the ear of people that can actually effectuate change, and probably will effectuate a lot of change. That would be very cool. Thanks, Kevin. I look forward to these AMAs. I hope you have a good evening. Hope I can make it on Dog on a Stick coin. Yeah, me too, Mr. A. I expect it to go to the moon and beyond. And XCM, tokenomics really proved itself really with higher volume. Are you still into buying more XCM? I am definitely going to buy more XCM. Doesn't really matter what the price is when I have the capital to do so. And yeah, we have really great tokenomics, man. What we haven't had is the growth we need to actually showcase those tokenomics. You're now seeing, with a very small amount of growth, the underlying effect of those tokenomics. 40% in 30 days. I'm not saying that's all tokenomics, but it's a definite big piece of that. So yeah, amazing tokenomics we've always had, but I'm glad we can finally see them at work. That's really cool. I guess we reached the point where questions are asked and people only waiting for answers. We're at the point where questions are asked and people only waiting for answers. Okay, a good point, Errol. Yeah, but this in and of itself is a question. XCM price is on the move. It's up 40%. Yes, of course, it has a long way to go before it touches all-time highs. But 40% in 30 days, you don't need to do that many times to see those highs again. And like I said, the company is committed. Sometimes no matter what we do, if market sentiment isn't right, you don't see it. Now you're starting to see it along with tokenomics. And I think that's an amazing thing. We support you, hold for a long time. Bunch of XM and trust you will pick up the company and bring in a lot of new users. I appreciate that, Nulti. Thank you very much. I think we can end it there. Thank you very much for the support, as always. Thank you as well, just to be honest. Look, Errol and everybody else that wants to see action, so do we, man. So does everybody in the company. And I want everybody's efforts that have gone over the past years in this company, people that are still here, that were here, and that will be here. I want their efforts to be actually seen And a lot of times stuff that happens internally, we don't see it. You don't, well, we see it. You don't see it. And I'm going to be the happiest man on the planet when you guys see it and the fruits of that labor not only come back to the company, but also come back to you guys. So thanks again for all the support. Here's Piotr from the delivery team. So thank you, Piotr. Everybody who asked about delivery, there's the man. So all the best from him. I appreciate that. Do you have an overview of how many people, I'll take this question, first 50 XCM buyers from ICO? First 50 XCM buyers are still here. Well, retention rate on XCM, meaning those that still hold XCM versus how many, there are more XCM holders now than there were after the ICO, that's for sure. In terms of how many ICO holders are still here, I don't know the answer to that question. That's actually probably, you know, we probably will have an answer to that once this retooling of our data warehouse is complete. This is a more kind of complex query. If I had to guesstimate, I would guesstimate that something around 40 to 50%, somewhere in that range, 30 to 50% maybe, of an original XCM purchasers still hold their XCM. That would be my estimate. But let's see if I'm right. We'll get the data and we'll come back. You can ping me on Telegram. You're welcome, Hemlock. I love retail, man. That's why I'm here. I didn't open up Coinmetro to, you know, sell Bitcoin to Donald Trump. I mean, not that we wouldn't. Donald, if you're listening, send me a message on Telegram, man. We got you. We got you. All right, everybody. Thanks for a great Thursday. Here's to a really good Friday and a great weekend for everybody. Thanks for the support. Please continue to be critical, but also, you know, pat us on the back every once in a while, but let us know when we do something wrong. We want to make sure we do more right than wrong in the future. And, you know, we're 100% committed to that. So thanks, everybody. Happy Bitcoin all-time high days. I expect those to continue for some time. And I expect to be talking about happy XCM all-time high days sometime in the near future. Cheers, everybody. Thanks again.